The wind howled through the ruins as Kael lowered himself into the forgotten temple, dust choking the air, stone groaning under its own age. He had searched hundreds of relic sites before, but this one felt alive. He stepped carefully, each footfall echoing louder than the last, until there it was. Embedded in a cracked altar, half buried in ash and bone, a shard pulsed with impossible light. Kael reached for it. The moment his fingers touched the shard, the world shattered. Flames roared across his vision. He saw skies torn in two, colossal gods locked in battle, and a blade of starlight cleaving heaven. A voice, terrible and ancient, spoke within him. "You are not ready, yet the blade remembers you." He collapsed, gasping, the shard glowing in mid-air before him. And that's when he heard the voice. "You touched it." He spun around. A woman stood in the ruins' shadows, calm as stone, her cloak whispering in the wind. "You saw the truth, didn't you?" she asked. "Who are you?" Kael demanded, heart hammering. But she only smiled, stepping closer. "The question is, who you are." And behind them, in the deep of the desert, something stirred, something that had been waiting for the Skyblade's return. The ruins groaned behind them as Kael stared at the woman, her crystal eyes gleaming like starlight trapped in glass. She didn't blink, didn't flinch, just studied him as if she'd been waiting a lifetime. He opened his mouth to speak, but the ground rumbled beneath his feet. A wind rose. No, not wind, a presence. From the dunes beyond the ruins, embered shadows marched forward, figures cloaked in flame-kissed armor, their faces hidden by masks carved from obsidian and bone. The order of hollow flame had come. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "They know the Skyblade has chosen." Kael backed away, fingers tightening around the glowing shard. "What is this thing?" "No time," she snapped. "Run!" They turned, just as fire cracked the sky behind them. One of the zealots hurled a spear of living flame, shattering the altar Kael had just fled. The shard flared brighter, responding to the threat. Kael felt it inside his chest, vibrating with purpose, with rage. They sprinted through the ruins, boots sliding across cracked stone and drifting ash. Behind them, the zealots gave chase, weapons lit like dying suns. And then, a chasm. A rift. Carved not by nature, but by something far older. The Ember Rift. Before Kael could speak, Lyra stepped aside. "This is where it begins. Step through, or the Skyblade burns alone." Kael hesitated only a second. Then he leapt. The world shattered again, but this time he fell with the light. The void screamed around Kael as he fell, embers rising like stars in reverse. Wind clawed at him, not cold, but searing, filled with echoes that were not quite voices. And then, silence. He hit solid ground. No impact, no pain, just arrival. The Ember Rift wasn't a place, it was a memory made real. He stood in a vast expanse of flame-lit dusk. Monoliths floated in the sky, each one etched with runes that pulsed to the rhythm of a forgotten god's heartbeat. The shard, now glowing brighter than ever, hovered before him. "Welcome, Ashborn," whispered the rift itself. A shape emerged from the molten shadows, a massive creature made of bone and black fire, its wings torn, its crown broken, the first warden of the Skyblade. It spoke without moving its jaws. "Prove yourself, or burn." Kael barely raised his hands before it struck, wings of shadow slicing the air like thunder. He rolled, slid across crystal sand, and the shard flew into his grasp. The moment he touched it, time fractured. He saw himself in armor he'd never worn, heard voices calling his name from eons long past. The warden lunged again. Kael didn't run this time. He moved, faster, clearer, as if his body suddenly remembered something his mind had never known. The shard blazed into the shape of a blade, not metal, but light. Their clash was brief and breathtaking. A single strike from Kael cracked the warden's mask. The creature froze, then bowed, not in defeat, but in recognition. The blade remembers you. The world folded inward. Kael collapsed, panting. The blade faded. Above him, Lyra's voice drifted from nowhere. "You survived the rift. You've been chosen." And when Kael opened his eyes, he stood no longer in the rift, but in a forest of burning leaves beneath a violet sky. His journey had only just begun. The forest shimmered around Kael with impossible color, leaves of burning gold, branches humming with forgotten songs. This wasn't the world he knew. It was somewhere in between, where memories and magic bled into each other. He stepped forward, unsure whether he was dreaming or still within the rift. Then a shape emerged ahead. Lyra. She stood beneath a tree that wept molten light, her gaze calm but unreadable. "You're changing," she said softly. "The Skyblade doesn't just give power, it remembers who you were, who you could be." Kael's voice was low. "That warden, it knew me. It was you, or a part of you, fractured long ago." But before he could respond, the ground trembled. The sky cracked open, not with thunder, but with iron. Descending from above came one of the Skylore citadels, massive and ancient, its engines burning holes in the horizon. War banners fluttered from its spires. At its helm, Varian Blackhollow. The fallen demigod, clad in obsidian armor, raised his hand, and the winds bent to his will. "The gods slept too long. Now I wake them." Dozens of god-engine constructs launched from the citadel, crashing into the lands below like fallen stars. In seconds, the tranquil forest was ablaze. Kael turned to Lyra, but she was already drawing symbols into the air, opening a gate of starlight. "We have to reach the citadel of Varn. If Varian reactivates the core, there won't be a world left to save." Kael looked down at his hand. The shard had formed a partial blade now, flickering, unstable. But his eyes burned with purpose. He stepped into the gate. And with that, the second ember was lit.